Ed, I'm just testing. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Steve, can you hear me? Can you hear me now,
Awesome.
Steve?
You want to try talking again, please?
Yeah. Steve, can you hear me now?
I don't hear him.
No?
Ed, let's try again.
Okay, Steve, can you hear me now?
Nope. All right, now try it, Ed.
All right, Steve, can you hear me?
Yep. Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we're ready.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neese. We will call the April 25th, 2022 meeting of the Board of Supervisors to order. I will announce that the board met in executive session to discuss two legal matters. Mr. Neese, can you please do a roll call?
Mr. Altieri,
Here.
Ms. Roberts Lightcap.
Here.
Mr. Partridge,
Here.
Mr. Russo. Here. Ms. Chanlis.
Here.
Your solicitor, engineer, and manager are here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neese. We'll now do a moment of silence. And let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We should have done that moment of silence for all your ears, given my voice. I apologize for that. We'll now get down to considering the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Chandler, seconded by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Public comment for agenda items only. If there's anyone here in the audience who has anything that they'd like to say, please come up to the podium, state your name and address. I will note for the record that there was nothing in the Dropbox and there was also nothing public comment email account either. Seeing no members of the public, we'll move down to the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the April 11th, 2022 meeting?
So moved.
Motion was made by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap, seconded by Supervisor Chandler to approve the minutes from April 11th, 2022. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 8, resolutions of recognition. Can I get a motion to consider approving resolution 2022-19 National Police Week? Actually, I guess I did that backwards. Let me do that again. We'll move down to 8.1, consider approving resolution 2022-19 National Police Week. Supervisor Chandler, please.
Resolution number 2022-19, National Police Week, May 15th to the 21st, 2022, and Peace Officers Memorial Day, May 15th, 2022. Whereas since the beginning of law enforcement within this Commonwealth, hundreds of police officers have made the ultimate sacrifice while in the line of duty. And whereas these officers risk their lives every day to protect our communities, and their bravery and selfless services shall not be overlooked by a grateful nation. And whereas across the United States, the week of May 15th through 21st, 2022 will be recognized as National Police Week. And whereas the first National Peace Officers Memorial Day was held on May 15th, 1982, following a proclamation signed by President John F. Kennedy on October 1st, 1961, and has continued to be observed annually in memory of those police officers who made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. And whereas Newtown Township honor the memory of the hundreds of police officers who have given their lives in the line of duty in this Commonwealth. And whereas that Newtown Township recognized the week of May 15th through 21st, 2022 as National Police Week, and May 15th, 2022 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in Pennsylvania. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Supervisors of the Township of Newtown does hereby acknowledge May 15th through 21st, 2022 as National Police Week, and May 15th, 2022 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in Pennsylvania. Resolved this 25th day of April, 2022.
Motion was made by Supervisor Chandless, seconded by Supervisor Roberts, seconded by Supervisor Russo. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 9, appointment to boards and commissions. 9.1, can I get a motion to consider accepting the resignation of Tony Maalouf from the Newtown Township Library Board of Trustees?
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Russo, seconded by Supervisor Chandless. Is there any board discussion? Just want to say thank you, Tony, for your service to the library. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. 9.2, consider accepting the recommendation of the Newtown Township Library Board of Trustees to appoint Sondra Dubin Gutkind to fill the open position on the Library Board of Trustees, which will expire 12/31/2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap, seconded by Supervisor Russo. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Agenda Section 10, reports. 10.1, report from the Police Department. Chief Lund, do you have anything you want to add or supplement to your report?
Nothing else.
Does anybody have any questions for the chief? Seeing none, report from the Fire Department. Chief Everloft, do you have anything you need to add or supplement? Any board members have any questions for Chief Everloft? Reports from the Public Works Director, George Sharretts. Do you have anything, Mr. Sharretts? Any questions from the board? Just want to say to thank you and your guys for Saturday at Newbie Park. You guys did a great job. Sunday. Did a great job making sure that park was pristine. It looked great. And I know that there was a lot of people who had a good time. So thanks for that, George. Report from the building/codes officer and Mr. Rezcheck. Is he on the call? Any board members have any questions that we can relay to him? Seeing none, we'll go down to the finance director's report, Mr. Lafayette.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lafayette. Moving down to the library director, Ms. Caruso. She on? No? We'll now move down to the township engineer, Ms. Eileen Nelson.
Sorry, we did issue the notice to proceed for the storm sewer repairs, setting an April 29th start date.
So in layman's terms, for those watching at home, what does that mean, Eileen?
It means that they are now on the clock for the contract, and after June 28th, if they're not completed, they will be responsible for liquidated damage.
Eileen, is that both locations?
Yes,
Okay, so just so that the public knows where the two locations are, the one location's here in the township parking lot, the area where the cones have been for a long time that we've talked about. And the second location is down off of North Line Avenue.
Any questions for Eileen? Seeing none, we'll move down to the township manager, Mr. Neese.
Yeah, the only thing I have for you, I believe you all received a potential diagram of the, I know we had talked about painting St. Albans Circle. We also put out some, I think there was cones that were left out over the weekend, kind of blocking off the area, how possible to go ahead and paint back. I know we originally talked about just restoring the way it had been. Upon going out and looking at it, we felt like this might actually do a little bit better to keep traffic flowing. I don't know if anybody had a chance to go out there over the weekend and take a look at it. And just wanted to make sure that the board was acceptable with that decision to do that. Yeah, we were waiting to actually paint it until the board met tonight. And so I think that George's team would try to paint it this week if there was no objections.
So what we're looking at is that last photo, right, George?
Yes.
And has this, have we shared this with the business neighbors in the circle?
We have not shared specifically, but George, go ahead.
Sure. George Sharrett's Director of Public Works. So no, right now, so we have restored the line painting to the original configuration as directed on the northern side of the circle, the eastern side, and the western side. The only difference is that the crosswalks and whatever associated signage and painting needed to be done with the crosswalks. Our question is just has to do with the southern side, which is the island there. And at the end of the day, the question from Public Works is, should we restore the 2 lanes coming from Westchester Pike that used to go into the circle? One made an immediate right on the Rhodes Avenue. The other one went into the circle. And then there was a 20-foot lane coming out of the circle. And when we were setting up the work zone to do the other painting, we set it up the way that you see that it is now, which basically created 1 lane going into the circle, which you can either make a right on Rhodes or go in. And it created a not as wide 13-foot lane coming out of the circle. It slows traffic down without the effect of it being an obstacle course. And that was because it's something that Public Works had thought about a couple years ago before even the testing took place. That's why they set the work zone up that way. And because it was flowing pretty well, we thought it would be good to bring to the manager and bring to you and say, hey, would you like us to paint it this way as opposed to the other? The nice thing is it's paint. So it's,
Yes.
if it's something that one decision is made and then later, there's a reconsideration, we can, we can change it.
And I mean, you guys live it. I mean, you know what it's like to be out there. So if you feel that this is the best alternative, then I would go with, especially that you just said that a few years ago you had talked about doing it this way. That's just how I feel about it. So I'm fine with it. It's up to all of
I
you.
think it's a great idea because the circle, it's a slow circle. It's a small circle.
Yeah.
You don't need 2 lanes coming in and 2 lanes coming out over there. It breaks out afterwards.
Exactly. But fortunately, it doesn't create that obstacle course, which I think was a concern before. It still has very smooth traffic moving through it. It just forces it to slow down a little bit and do what a circle should do anyway.
All right, George,
We
thank you.
were out there probably close to 40 minutes, I guess, the other day. And we were watching the traffic. Traffic flowed really well during that and it kept moving. And the advantage would be if we chose to put a ramp on the east side of St. Albans Avenue, going like near the Rite Aid, you could actually add another crosswalk. So we didn't have a crosswalk through that section, but by doing this, there would be a landing island that somebody could actually walk across and it would actually work pretty well. So we felt like there was a lot of benefits to this, having been out there for that period of time.
The stop sign that's there. Stop sign that's there now. You're going to keep that with this group configuration, or is that just a temporary stop sign?
Sure. So we had put a stop sign up as part of the work zone that we were using. It's actually a good test to see what it would be like there. We are not recommending that we do a stop sign anywhere at this point. What I would say is that once the island is in, and if we believe that the traffic is flowing the way that we would hope it would, we could have further discussions about whether we think there's other things like, potentially a 4-way stop there or something like that. So I'm not recommending that as part of this painting job, but it was good to actually see it while it was up to see what it did.
Thanks, George. So I think the board's direction was to go forward with it.
That's what I'm hearing. So George's team will hopefully get it done this week. I know we have a day or two that it might rain, so that might slow us down a little bit, but that would be the intention. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. East. We'll now move down to the budget adjustment 11.1. Consider approving the budget increase 2022-1, increasing the capital budget as presented on this agenda. Not going to read that. So if there's a motion. Is
So moved.
there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Roberts, seconded by Supervisor Russo. Is there any board discussion? Mr. Neese, do you have anything you want to add to this?
No, just that the bubblers have been down for a while, so we feel like it's it really ought to be done pretty quickly, and George's team is ready to do that.
Perfect. Any comment from the board? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously.
I'm sorry, just the bubblers are to keep the fountain moving, to keep the geese out, right?
Yeah, so in the both the upper pond and the lower pond at Drexel Lodge, they're bubblers. They just keep the water moving. They're good environmental. They discourage the geese, but they don't actually chase them away.
Mhm.
But they've been in a number of years. Had we known that they weren't going to operate after the winter was done, it would have been a budgeted item. It would have been part of the budget. We didn't expect that they were not going to be operational.
Right, because we're spending the money to keep the geese, that's Drexel Lodge is where we've spent the money on the geese patrol, right?
That is correct.
Exactly.
Is that working? Has there been a marked difference?
Definitely. So when I first brought it to you, we had 90 geese there and we have 3 right now. So it's been working. And again, it's making that area usable again.
Did the 3 realize that that the other ones left and there's no party anymore?
You know
Or
what's
they-
interesting, those 3, I mean, I chase those 3 when I go into the park and they fly away and then they come back.
They're just not very smart. I
They
guess. don't get the
literally
message.
hang out next to the decoys. I don't know why those.
It really is quite funny.
Thanks, George.
We'd say put up more decoys. We're not sure that would work.
We'll now move down to item 12, bills. 12.1, I reviewed the bills, so I will make a motion to approve the bills on check register A dated April 25th, 2022, totaling $152,676.92. Can I get a second?
Second.
Motion was made by the chair, seconded by Supervisor Roberts Cap. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. 12.2, I will make a motion to approve the bills on EFT register dated April 25th, 2022, totaling $689.19. Can I get a second?
Second.
Motion was made by the chair, seconded by Supervisor Roberts Cap. All those in favor, is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, and we'll move down to section 13, new business.
Mr. Chairman, number 13.1, if I would respectfully request that you consider tabling. We got some information this afternoon that I think we need to evaluate before you take action.
Sounds good. So we will make a motion to table that. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's tabled. We did 13.2 with your manager's report. Mr. Neese will now move down to 13.3. Consider approving the full page ad in the July 4th parade program at a cost of $250.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any board discussion? This is pretty self-explanatory. Mr. Neese, I don't think you need to add anything.
It's something you've done every year that
Yep.
we've had the parade, so
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. 13.4, consider approving a waiver request for chapter 143 stormwater management from C&J Auto Repair for the replacement of impervious surface due to the installation of new underground storage tanks at 99 South Newtown Street Road. Guessing there's people here for this? Come on up. I don't know if Eileen or Mr. Zakor or Mr. Neese want to tee this up and then we'll have them present.
We were provided information from code about concrete being replaced on the property. And there was a question as to whether, because of the extent of the coverage, stormwater would be required. And under normal circumstances, it would be because they were being fully replaced and it was over 1,000 square feet. But in this particular instance, because of prior environmental contamination at the site, there's an environmental covenant. And there's monitoring wells and things because of that. And we don't want to necessarily allow for infiltration. So this is one of those circumstances where there is technically no increase in coverage. And the technicality in the ordinance is that replacement is considered new. So they need relief from the board if they're not to provide any stormwater management for the work done.
Covenant. What are they treating?
They're continuing to monitor. I don't know that they have
You
to.
guys monitor, you guys had treatment? What are you doing?
So what they do is they,
Real quick, just give your name and your title.
oh, absolutely, sorry. My name is Chris Mitchell. I'm the project manager for JF Petroleum. what the environmental covenant is, and I have copies of the covenant if you guys want it to review. It's pages long, but I'll gladly give you copies of it.
You were already, just for the record, they did provide it for us in our packets. We do have a copy of it.
Oh, okay.
So thank you for that. We also have,
Can you give us the 5-second summary? I mean, is it totally impervious because you don't want any, not treating this, you just letting it stay there? You feed it with, orgasms? What are you guys doing to treat the environment then?
So what they do is the PA deems the covenant, so the covenant is between the owner and the site. Basically, it lives the life of the site, and it's with PA DEP. DEP requires that the groundwater be tested
Right.
every so often or whatever, and it has to match within certain levels of, like they test for certain chemicals that petroleum would necessarily have in it and verify that the groundwater it's not contaminating the groundwater outside that. But because there was a spill at one point, they'll always consider that ground contaminated.
So the
And
whole
that was from
property,
the prior owner, correct?
It was.
Yes. that-
and the whole property is 1,000% impervious coverage. There's no grass at all.
So there's, it's minimal. I think if there's 2 flower beds.
So this is an act to release liability? Is that what this covenant is from? Because you bought the property and it was already contaminated? So you went through the Act 2 process with DEP?
So I'm Jack Crowley. I'm the owner of the station there. No, we wanted to just do kind of a simple upgrade. And once we got down to the tanks, we didn't replace the tanks. We were just upgrading some lines and going to do a manifold. And that would have fallen well within the guidelines. But once we got down there, we realized there was some more issues. So I decided to just bite the bullet and do all the work at once. So we replaced some lines. We wanted to do new concrete, so everything was fresh. And we were under the assumption that, once it got to the people doing the project, we weren't adding any impervious coverage. We were just taking out some old concrete to remove some dirt and get some new fresh stuff in there, get double wall fiberglass conduits, so we could just upgrade the whole facility underground. So that made the job, increase in time and cost. And then after the fact, when we went to pour, we found out that, we might have to come put in stormwater management system. But with the covenant, obviously, that's, hard to make it an option. But we've been down our site for months longer than expected. And I just appreciate you guys putting us on the agenda as quickly as you have, because
Who
it's
was
kind
the
of critical in our
original?
business.
Who was the original operator when that happened? Was it like a major oil company?
Well, I've been the operator since 2014.
No, when the leak occurred.
The release, it was a previous owner,
Another independent person like yourself?
another independent jobber, yes.
Because that was a Shell station at one point, I take it?
No, it was never a Shell station. In my, best of my knowledge, it was an Exxon, then it
Exxon?
was an Oceanic, and then now it's a
Okay.
Gulf. We
I-
added no impervious coverage. We just,
So that's,
Facility
is that the
upgrades.
case? They've not added any
They haven't
impervious?
added any, and that's why I thought this was a perfect example of what would qualify.
But I did notice behind, when you guys were doing some work, there were some trees and things behind you. Did you guys cut that down, or was that the other shopping center?
that was the shopping center.
Okay.
the only reason why, right, to just jump off of what you said, Eileen, the only reason why this would be before us for a waiver is because the way our ordinance is written now is that any replacement counts as, gets triggered by it,
Yes,
even though he's not adding any impervious.
correct.
And the
We can-
cap, and just because I'm familiar with the Act 2 release liability, and that the cap acts as, cap is either building and or impervious surface like the blacktop or the concrete. And you can have beds, you can have landscaping beds, but you have to bring in new soil.
Mhm.
And so the reason you've got this this covenant is because of the soil contamination that was done before, correct?
Correct. Yeah, and
And-
that, the covenant carried forward from the previous owner.
It'll go with the land.
And we did remove, as much as we could, but obviously the way it's set up, it is what it is. We just wanted to be proactive.
Mhm.
I said, hey, while the ground's open, we'll pay the bill to try and clean as much as we can. But unfortunately, what's there is there. And to leave it open or let stormwater go through it, I believe will be probably a bigger bag of worms. So.
Yeah. It's just that we have so many, issues with stormwater in the township, and, you've seen, I don't know if you've seen anything that we're talking to, we're trying to find, monies to help So this is why we're not trying to give you a hard time about it. We just want everyone to understand that why you're here and that to give a waiver, it's not a waiver that's something that we would normally do because it's a precedent, right? But it's the fact that it's a gas station, I think is the biggest issue, and that you do have contamination there. Now in the back where this shopping center did take down those trees, that is not your property back there, and there is you just have the one flower bed in the front.
Yeah, there's a small flower bed on Alpha Drive,
Uh-huh.
and then there's the shop like right at the front on 252. It's like a narrow, long flower bed as well.
Yeah.
But that's it. The back, I mean, those trees were right up to our blacktop, and Regency Centers took them down. So without having a drawing of exactly where that demarcation line is, I can't speak 100%. but,
Right.
I mean, we did not do that work, so.
Right. Now, Eileen, is there any, I don't want to add any costs to what you're doing. I'm trying to find a way that, it's more comfortable for us if we do grant a waiver. Is there anything else that they could do to kind of help mitigate some stormwater management, like a rain barrels, I don't know what they could do because the soil is contaminated. So is there anything that can help kind of bring some of that water off the roof so it doesn't? Would you be open to that if that's, because we're just, again, we've got so many stormwater issues in the township.
I mean, all I want to do is comply and make people happy. We did this, it was supposed to be a 2-week turnaround.
I know.
And we've been
I've
down for
noticed
3
that you
months,
guys have been-
gas is
yeah.
down, and we're actually missing one of our bays. So our repair shop business has suffered a 50% hit.
Yeah,
If we didn't have other companies to support it, I would have had to close up.
yeah.
So
No, I
if there's
understand.
barrels or I got to do a rain dance, whatever you guys need.
No, we don't need a rain dance. We need to
That might be
control the
the
rain.
opposite effect we're after.
We don't want the rain dance. Please
But
don't.
All right, all right, all right.
let
It
me
would
ask
be
you
good, I
this,
promise.
let me ask you this question. Do you water your beds?
Do we water our beds?
The 2 beds that are there, no?
We don't, no.
I'm going to throw out another kind of far-fetched idea. If you had water from there, could you use it in your, do you put out like for people to wash their windows with their car? Like I'm sure you put some stuff in it as well, but
Yeah.
could you use the water from there to do that?
From a rain barrel?
From a rain barrel?
I don't think, unfortunately, we could do that because what we use as a solution is meant to be all weather, so it doesn't freeze. It's basically like washer fluid,
Okay,
so it's not water that goes in there.
all right.
Suggest that.
I was just trying to help your idea, but you wash the cars? We could wash them with rain water.
At another location, but.
I'll see ya. Mike, put your mic on.
So you have a flower bed on the side where you, where I guess it comes into the center. Why don't we have you work with the town engineer to put a new tree in there?
And some of the other plannings may. I'm
And
sorry
some of
to
the other,
interrupt,
and maybe
the
just some of the other
EAC.
planning just to fix that little area up there. Is that fair?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
All right, Eileen, why don't you work with them on that? And let them continue to get done so they can open up for business.
And if there's any other things that you can think of, as far as, anything to help, we would appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
Thank
and Leonard just noticed that, I'm only speaking for you because your voice is all messed up. He noticed that in the covenant, it is back in 1991, so it's over 30 years. So you're what, 4 when that 30 years ago?
I was 0.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I made you older than you are. It's the hair.
Oh, that's awesome. All right,
made everybody mad.
we will, are you good? That's all good. Anything else from the board? All right, Suzanne, who seconded that? Who made that motion? Who seconded that?
I don't think we,
There
didn't do
wasn't.
I don't think we have one at this
All right,
time.
perfect. So can I get a motion to consider approving a waiver request for chapter 143 stormwater management from C&J Auto Repair for the replacement of impervious surface due to installation of new underground storage tanks at 99 South Newtown Street Road?
So move for approval.
Motion was made by Supervisor Chandler, seconded by Supervisor Partridge. Is there any other board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Congratulations. Well, not congratulations. Good luck.
Good luck. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations for sure. Appreciate
Thank
it,
you.
guys. Thank you.
We'll now move down to 13.5. I get a motion to consider approving the one-year maintenance contract renewal with Pathcom Inc. in the amount of $4,350 for phone system maintenance at the Newtown Township Municipal Building and Police Station.
So moved.
Motion was made by Supervisor Chandler, seconded by Supervisor Partridge. Is there any board discussion? Mr. Neese, you need to add anything on that?
No, I just want to confirm, there was no increase, right, George? Yeah, so there was no increase, and this is just a maintenance contract.
Perfect. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the motion carries unanimously. 13.6, consider approving the attached 2022 budget schedule for the 2023 budget. Get a motion.
So moved.
Motion was made by Supervisor Chandler, seconded by Supervisor Partridge. Mr. Neese, you want to add anything on this?
I just would make note that we have added an additional public time for comment, and I guess we could call it public workshop at the beginning of the process this year. And so we'll be getting more information out on that, but it'll be an opportunity for us to hear from the public. We decided to go back to doing that since it'd been several years since we had done the strategic plan. And it would be just good to hear if there's anything new that the public thinks we ought to be involved in, so that we could bring that back to the board.
Mr. Neese, they brought up the strategic plan and that it's been several years. I don't know, the committee that worked on that strategic plan, would it make sense maybe to reach out to them and see maybe if they want to come back for maybe this input meeting?
So they're going to, actually, the strategic plan committee is, I'm trying to get them to meet again. We're trying to find a time on our
Yeah.
calendar that works. But we're going to have them meet again. They're actually going to make a proposal to you, which I think we've talked about. And I think probably within the next couple of meetings, you're going to have a proposal from them about a little bit more involvement from them and them actually becoming a standing committee.
Okay,
So that they would be able to give you input on a regular basis, but also that we would kind of keep our strategic plan living and make it a document that would just kind of be ready to go on to the next time that we need to go and update our strategic plan, because believe it or not, we're a little over 2 years into it already. And so, we're going to be looking at needing to update it for the next 3 or 4 or 5 year period. And so they have a proposal that they want to bring back to you, but we need to get together one more time. So as soon as we do that, and then they would be us having input in this process as well.
and in that proposal to meet again, would they come, I guess you can't speak to what you were all looking for, but to not grade the township on the progress, but kind of highlight some of the areas and places that maybe need a little bit more improvement, or that we've obtained
Yes,
those goals in the strategic
that's
plan?
exactly part of what they want to be doing on an
Okay.
ongoing basis. And then have people that are ready to help us walk through the second phase and the third phases, or, each renewal,
Right.
as we go along.
Yeah, because I know as a board, and especially with our chairman is very, he always refers back to our strategic plan.
Sure.
And that, so it'd be a good report card, I think. And I know that that's been your playbook as well.
Yep.
So, and as well as the other members of the township staff. So, okay, great, thank you.
Where are we? And I think it's somewhat pertinent to this motion, but how many more years do we have left on the comp plan?
The comp plan was adopted in 2016, and it's a 10-year plan.
Yeah.
So to be honest with you, what's going to be recommended from the strategic plan will be tying the two a little closer together, so that that the strategic plan would kind of function within the comp plan, or the comp plan would function within the strategic plan, however we want to look at it, but that there would be the 10-year requirement that we would meet for the purposes of the requirements of the state. But then within that, we would have like 3-year renewals within that, and looking at making sure that we're not only doing what the comp plan has, but what the strategic plan has, and keeping both documents living.
Any other board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. We'll now move down to section 14, old business. There's business. Number 15, there's no resolutions of legislation in action. Section 16, board comment. Is there any board comment? I just want to thank Wade Pollock and the Parks and Rec Department for that event that you all put on Sunday. Wade, you weren't here, and I thank George's crew for what they did Sunday at Newbie Park. I also want to thank Officer Kine, our canine officer, for being there as well. I think it was remarkable the amount of children that were not scared of a police dog. I'm sure that'll come in time, but that went right up to Boya. So it was very nice. It was a good community involved. It was a good community project, quite frankly. Keep it up, Wade. Section 17, public comment. Come on up, Mr. Seligson. State your name for the record. and your
Good
address.
evening. My name is Paul Seligson. I live at 4727 Mill Hollow Lane. I have a couple of different comments. The first is a personal comment, and this was made a couple of meetings ago by Nate Glazier, and it was considering the idea to consider St. Albans Avenue from Winding Way up to St. Albans Circle as a one-way up. And I've driven it now many times both ways. And I know that the problems with the crazy traffic when they put the monitors was going west. And so at night, like the 4 o'clock to 6:30 or whatever it is, people like to use Rhodes Avenue and then dart around the circle and go down St. Albans and get into 252 going north. And if it was a one-way up, that would be prevented. There, from the monitors, what I heard from the report was that there's not a problem going east at St. Albans Avenue, because if you go up St. Albans Avenue and you go east and you go to Rhodes, it forces you to go, you're heading west. You can't even go east. So it's less of a problem, according to the monitors that were put there by the traffic engineer, going west than it is. No, I'm not saying it right. So the problem is when people are going west and not going east. Do you all follow me? Do you make?
I just want to confirm, are you saying that St. Albans should be one way or Rhodes should be one way?
No, not Rhodes. Definitely, I'm just saying St. Albans Avenue.
St. Albans Avenue.
From Winding
So
Way.
let's say St. Albans runs north and south.
So it would run up to the circle.
So coming off of so going down the hill or coming up the hill?
You're only allowed to come up the hill.
You want to change it so you're only allowed to come up the hill?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I just think.
Does the board understand now? Okay.
And that was made by Nate Glazier, and I appreciate the comment, and I really think, I mean, I invite all of us to drive around and consider it and just think about it and see how it works in your head when you drive it. But I think that it would help enormously. Now I want to talk about Newtown Square and Bloom and give you a slight report out. You know, we're tasked with watering. The township is going to offer a watering truck and a driver. And we're going to offer a person to ride shotgun who's going to water with hanging out the window, the wand, who's going to water the baskets. Roughly, consider it roughly, we're talking about 76, 78 baskets. We're only going to the principal streets this year. We're not going to do Winding Way. We won't do St. Albans Avenue and Circle. We won't do Chapel Road. We're just going to, so we're cutting down a large number of baskets from 111 to 78, something like that. And we put it on Sign Up Genius so far. It's 36 instances. We need to water on Tuesdays and Fridays. And we start this program May 3rd, end it September 2nd. So there's 36 times that we need waterers. And we have, as of right now, 19 people have signed up to take shifts. So we're looking for 17 shifts, and that's without the ARD program, which it's being kicked off and we're in line to get it. But, you know, a judge has to rule against a DUI and say you have to do community service within 3 weeks. And then the people have to say, okay, I want to do my community service in Newtown Square. And I'm going to water from 5:30 in the morning until 9:15 in the morning. So that's kind of where we're on at the watering. Business Association sent you all a little note about, we had a very spirited discussion about the Homespring Press and how that all works with advertising. And I sort of think that perhaps the township is locked into Homespring Press for the rest of the year, but maybe going forward, you might consider what we had to say, which is that we see complications with businesses who advertise at hometown press, and then come to you or come to the township and say, for certain reasons, we need favorable, and there's sort of a quid pro quo there and all that stuff. So that's how we feel about it. There is this, and I was fascinated by and this is my last point. And now I am I'm talking to you as the president of the Newtown Square Business Association. There's the discussion about the strategic plan and how that all works. And, we looked it up. This was brought up in our lively discussion in the board of the Business Association. And it's like 86% approval by the residents who did take the survey that they do want the township to support local and small businesses. And I would like there to be sort of a discussion, and I'm not saying it should be tonight, but I'm just saying somehow I would like to put that on the table that eventually, and perhaps it works in conjunction with the meeting of the strategic plan of how would that express itself? How would the township show support for local businesses, small business? That's what I have to say.
Thank you, Paul. I will just add just one thing because I saw your email that was sent to the board with regards to what does the township do? And just one glaring example that stuck out at me was during the pandemic when it came time to allow all of these eateries that we have here in the township that were never approved for outdoor dining. We relaxed the rules for every single one of them and allowed them to continue to survive and to continue to have their patrons come in by relaxing those rules for anyone that wanted to apply. So that was just one
Point
low-hanging
taken,
fruit.
and that's a very good point, and I will get back to the board. If you want to write me a note and sort of express that, that's
Probably
fine.
better I write it than talking, huh?
Okay, no, but you're accurate. I mean, it's accurate, and I will remind the board of that, we didn't talk about that at all, so thank you.
And we're more limited than what you would see in some big governments, right? We can't give tax breaks, right?
No, I understand that. You want to hear my little idea? I'll roll out my idea, then you all can think about that. I think for Small Business Saturday, which is the Saturday right after Thanksgiving, it would be wonderful to have banners right adjacent to the welcome signs at either end of the town. And perhaps a nice banner in St. Albans Circle as well. And it might go up a week ahead of time and be up for Small Business Saturday and then come right back down. And it's the same banner is used year after year after year. But the mechanics of getting a banner up so that it doesn't droop and it doesn't look, like wind blown, it needs to be taut, it needs to be straight, all that is a little beyond. I mean, that would be extremely helpful. I mean, that's a thing that I'm just thinking of, something like that.
Point taken.
Thank you.
Paul. Anyone else for public comment? Mr. Glazer, give your name and address. On Cayley Road.
Nathan Glazer, 3538 Cayley Road. I have 4 items. I'll try to be quick. First is, and I may have missed this, a past supervisor died a few weeks ago, and I think he should be remembered within our minutes. Jack DePompio died. He had served as supervisor and on the planning commission for many years, and he passed after a very, very lengthy illness. He devoted considerable time to the township. I did not always agree with him. We went back and forth on a few things, but it was certainly in the best interest of the town. And that's the way the process should work.
Nate,
So-
I will stop you right there. I don't think it's one of us do that. So we will stand now for a moment of silence for Jack DePompio. It's a point well taken, sir. Thank you, Nate.
No. Now on to more contentious things. These are a couple things I've actually asked about in the past, and I haven't seen anything happen. Newtown Township, as it's grown, the number of polling districts has not changed. And I realize the elections are under the control of the county before anybody says anything. But I had asked this question. I was told that after the census, there was a process for looking at how the districts either might be expanded or adjusted, because some of the polling areas have populations that have grown considerably and, possibly should be subdivided. But we've had the census and I haven't heard or seen of anything happening. So I wanted to bring this up again. We have the primaries coming up. The next general election probably will have a heavy turnout because I suspect it will be a very contentious election. So this seems to be the time to have any consideration. If anything's going to happen, do it before rather than later. Anybody shed any light on any of that?
I'm just gonna say it's public comment and keep on going with it.
All right. Second is, and this is what I brought before, is our post office is inadequate to the needs of a growing town. And I think, again, the ability of the board to communicate to federal officials the need to re-examine the space available and its location. I've seen the township conduct surveys among its residents many times and the like. Perhaps in order to provide more focus in such a request, there should be some type of a survey, maybe via the online route, to ask people, is the post office adequate? What would you like to see? Would you like to see it relocated? And then channel that information into the necessary authorities. But again, if there's some substantial survey or such that has been done that can be able to say this isn't just an idea, but 42% of all residents agree the post office needs to do something. It would lend more clarity and perhaps, it will not happen tomorrow. These are long-term changes, but the post office is a central part of a place to live with quality of life. And it should deserve attention just like any other public service. Final item, aren't you all happy? Several years ago, I spoke at the intersection of Winding Way and 252. Certain of the turns are labeled no turn on red. I've been there Sunday night at 11 o'clock and there is no traffic within 10 miles. And I don't wait, I make the turn. Other residents probably make the turn. Surprise! I'm not as fast as people who make the left turn to go in the wobble against the traffic light.
Looks like we got a new sting operation, chief.
Hey, knock yourselves out. The point is that the traffic sign isn't doing any service at certain hours. Now, during the rush hour, I understand. I would contend it may not be necessary, but I understand it. But I think on the weekends and late hours, it should be just like the Winding Way and Clyde Lane. It should say only during certain hours. Because people are already doing it. Nobody is sitting there paying attention to the sign unless one of our constabulary happens to be there. It happens at times, I'm sure. But that's fact number one. And fact number two is why hold traffic up for no rational reason? And that's true whether you're making the turn to go north on 252 or you're turning off of 252 onto Winding Way. The time of day makes a big difference in the traffic flow. It's busy at some times, it requires more attention. But these other off hours, it really isn't contributing to any public good. It's just a nuisance, which again, I said, I suspect most people are, honoring in the breach. So, it probably requires communication with PennDOT, I'm sure it's again, but they said this is years ago and I don't think anything's ever been visited in it since then. Oh.
I can speak to it. We did investigate.
Mhm.
and The reason for the no turn on red sign is that sight distance is limited. And a car needs to pull out too far to be able to see what's coming. And there is a reason for it. It's not just arbitrary. Maybe in the evenings you can see headlights better so that you know that nothing's coming, but there was an analysis done and it was concluded that PennDOT wasn't going to let us take the no turn on red sign down.
What? Well, it's,
It's still there, but it wasn't.
Nate, if I can, real quick. So I was on the board when you brought up the post office issue. I wasn't here when you talked about the polling locations and now obviously the sign. I've contacted our Congresswoman's office 3 or 4 different times to try to set up a meeting with her to talk about the extremely interesting topic of a post office. I've gotten no response. I've even tried working my contacts through her affiliations, tried even pulling the supervisor card. That office is so poor on communication. It is insulting, quite frankly. Like I said, even when I pulled the supervisor card, I was told I was going to get priority, nothing. It is ridiculous. So I've actually given up on it. One day, hopefully someone will pipe it up, or maybe she'll show some interest in Newtown. I know she doesn't most of the time, but there's no communication I've received back from that office. And I have the emails to prove it. So if you ever want to see them, I can send them out to you.
I have no reason to believe you wouldn't.
Yeah. So.
Your veracity.
It's a very frustrating constituent service. It's the number one thing, right? So, any other public comment? Seeing none, items for the next agenda. All right, let's get a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second, done. Good job, everyone.
As far as sight distance,